After John Carpenter's Halloween made box office history in 1978, slasher films ruled the screen.
The rules of any sort of world don't apply.
Right.
If slashers are supposed to be human, just a guy stalking you with a knife, explain to me how killing you in your dreams, the most supernatural setting you can invent, still depicts a realistic portrayal of a masked maniac. Michael Myers can't kill you with a blood geyser. Jason Voorhees can't marionette you off a tower with your veins as puppet strings. Ghostface can't eat you alive as a worm.
Killer that can kill you in your dreams.
Yeah.
So suddenly you have a slasher.
It crosses into the supernatural.
It was the blend of supernatural and slashers.
Eli must have arrested development from when he peaked in the 2000s because his ADHD forces him to interrupt people or speak so loudly others need to repeat themselves.
I guess I'd say my very first fans were young gay men, and they told me that they were using Nancy as they faced their folks or their parents or their families in revealing their true selves. And they expressed to me that it was just like, it was their Freddy, you know, just like that scary thing that they have to face, that they have to fight.
Yeah, that wasn't forced. Look, I'm not trying to knock anyone's personal obstacles, but you can't tell me that comments like that don't serve an ulterior motive. You could say that mention came out of left field. Guess who's back? Back again. Tana's back. Brought a friend. Well, the return of the Killjoy can only welcome back the drinking game. Take a shot every time someone needlessly points out skin color. Let's call this one the race card.
The Freddy sequels, how a black people also love.
It had a real impact on a lot of audiences, black audiences, because we will turn out to see blacks in a horror film.
Well, it's about this black dude who was murdered for having sex with a white lady, and then he comes back and hunts the white lady.
That I think scratches an itch, a frustrated itch, a societally frustrated itch.
I think they sell ointments for that at the pharmacy, mate.
That itch would be scratched by a slasher with a hook.
Candyman is not a slasher. First off, he's an undead spirit. Also, based on the adolescent criteria that slashers pigeonhole themselves into, Candyman is a classier monster that takes on serious subject matter.
What Candyman tried to do was using slavery and some of the violence of slavery to explain the emergence of this monstrous character.
If I can be serious for a minute.
Daniel Robitaille, aka Candyman, was not a slave. Honestly, how do you get that wrong? Racism plus African American does not automatically equate to slavery. His father sent him for fine schooling. He was contracted to design portraits. He was a professional artist. You provide a disservice to the film and expose yourself the fool when you wax on about your imagined academia. Candyman was an educated man of higher learning. Maybe something to emulate since your liberal arts degree from Northwestern U is reading a bit like a bad comedy sketch.
I think Candyman is intended more for a white audience.
Then why are you weighing in on it? This woman genuinely can't go a single sentence without impulsively referring to race. It's funny that when discussing the thematic content or plot analysis of other films, she's nowhere to be found in this docuseries. So, you really don't have anything of value to offer genuine conversations around horror films, do you? These phony intellectuals are so obsessed with race, the commentary you get from them says precious little about character or story. You only get the intriguing details from Candyman from the man himself.
Candyman, in a nutshell, is a dark love story. It was based on Clive Barker's book, The Forbidden. And I think what Bernard Rose, the director and writer, did brilliantly was to transpose it to Cabrini Green, which is now gone, but was one of the most dangerous housing projects in America. One of the brilliant things about the film is that he doesn't appear into 45 minutes into the film. He's spoken about, they mythologize him This is the woman that got away, the woman that he cherished, you know, and it happens to be in a horrific environment, but, you know, he'd do anything for her. Even kill her if they can die together.
I think some audiences were troubled because so many of the people he killed were black. So if it was a straight revenge story, he would have been killing nothing but white people, right? But the residents of this project were also his victims.
Now, you say you think, meaning you didn't poll anybody and have no concrete numbers on feedback. You're just speaking on behalf of audiences. Well, I guess that's a good rehearsal for role-playing as the clear conscience of the free world. We all gotta start somewhere, eh, big sister?
When I auditioned for it, there were two very different scenes. There was one of this loving, caring boyfriend, and then there was one of this psychopath.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
No, Billy!
Wes really wanted to see somebody who could convincingly play both sides of that.
You see, this documentary is at its best when its host is out of the damn picture, and the actors and directors, you know, the actual stars, can talk about the films and the genre unburdened and unmolested by agendas to push. If you let the flame breathe without trying to smother it with ulterior motives, it can shine on its own.
These movies get a bad rap for sort of being anti-feminist and misogynistic because they are, you know?
And they were always diminishing returns.
Exactly, and they were never about being scary.
Silence of the Lambs is a perfect film. It kind of shirked the in-your-face, occasionally vulgarities of the horror genre and painted them with a much finer brush that made it a story that was about being human.
Well, truer words were never spoken.
Nobody wanted to call it a horror film. You know, all the press stayed away from the fact that Silence of the Lambs is really a horror film. It's a slasher film.
No, it's not. Now, because the majority of slashers like Prom Night and Slumber Party Massacre didn't leave an impression, the Insecure tried to enlist the supernatural movies like Chucky and Freddy, or the elegant monsters like Candyman and Silence of the Lambs. Are you telling me that you could imagine Hannibal Lecter chasing horny teenagers at a campsite? No.
But Silence of the Lambs changed everything. It suddenly was not only big box office and not only horrific, but respected.
Yeah, because it took a story like that to add some class, whereas slashers were mostly the trash. Now, personally, I care not for the approval of the Academy or their ridicule, but as far as slashers go, there's plenty of valid criticisms to be raised from within the genre that I don't have to worry about the baseless mockery from without.
The Clarice Starling character, the Jodie Foster character, was in a way so central to the nature of the film that the music could reflect her character and be a point of view through her eyes.
How many slashers put an emphasis on the film's score? I'm not talking about no, I'm referring to the basic fundamentals of film making, such as the music to set the tone. We go a good 10-minute stretch of time without hearing Eli's pedestrian commentary between Scream and Silence of the Lambs, which is then immediately shattered by Jordan Peele's witless jabbering.
There are these moments where something plays different for white people than it does for black people. Hannibal Lecter, he's a psychopath. He's a white psychopath. That's the right there. That is Hannibal Lecter. That's my right there. That's if I'm in anybody in this movie, I'm him. I'm not the who got his face eaten. I'm Hannibal Lecter.
I'ma shoot straight with you. I don't give 2 squirts of piss if it boils your bladder over my calling out the propaganda that's clearly on display here. But this you cannot even argue with me on. Referring to Hannibal Lecter, Jordan Peele proceeds on this racial slur tirade using derogatory language no less than 4 times in a single breath. How progressive. And out of curiosity, I have to ask, while Mr. Peele is extolling us with his virtuous poetry, what exactly is it that this idiot Eli Roth is laughing at?
That's the right there. That is Hannibal Lecter. That's my right there. That's if I'm in anybody in this movie, I'm him. I'm not the who got his face eaten. Who got his face eaten.
Hey, shut up! Do you even understand the optics of a black man repeatedly referencing that word, the word, most offensive to Africans the world over, with a smile plastered on his face, mind you, while a faux broad-minded advocate white male chuckles at this clown show on display? And these two doting degenerates would dare speak on matters of race relations. It's refreshing to think that those that trumpet virtue the loudest aren't harboring any closeted vices when they think no one will notice.
If I'm in anybody in this movie, I'm him. I'm not the who got his face eaten.
Unbelievably racist. Like, why is this guy concerned with racism? Like, those reviews just become a soapbox. We're like, look, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I don't like this sort of thing. But the truth is,
Totally.
we love it. It's like it's the enjoying fantasy. You can tell when other people are phoning in and trying to imitate a genre.
That's funny, Eli. Not only in your own hosted documentary series did you not mention any example of anyone phoning it in, but that phrase is pretty indicative of your washed-up career. Back to slashers. They didn't dare mention the glut of remakes that flooded the scenes in the early 2000s. They just skipped right to torture porn. Gee, I guess Rob Zombie's Halloween isn't the classic people pretend it is. After all, wasn't it exorcised in totality from the canon for Halloween H4O? Ouch. I don't think they even reference Rob Zombie as its director. Not even once.
By, I think it was Saw 6, where they're going after insurance companies that have denied people their claims.
What I think is important and interesting about Hostel is that it doesn't allow the viewer to feel that sense that the American is exempt from implication in the war on terror and in the use of torture.
For the record, this mentality doesn't work for the simple fact that, while its subtext condemns the actions of a nation's government, the story takes this karma out on said nation's civilians. If anyone were to make that film today, condemning, let's say, an Asian tourist for the sins of their government, it'd be considered bigoted. So, well done, Eli, a true master of his craft. Honestly, how did so much identity politics flood into subgenres as shallow as zombies and slashers? Thank God that we're past that landmine. Let's see what the demons bring to the Ouija board. Or not. Okay, creature feature it is.